Hi, hello. This is part two of me talking about why I find conversations difficult sometimes, because why not? Before I went over how when others start on a topic or opinion, even just passively setting a stance that would cause me to other myself makes it much harder for me to speak up at all. Not even in a situation where I need to justify myself to them, like as an identity or something, because it's political or whatever, but if we don't share a certain life experience, I'm much too anxious that I won't say things correctly or make it more confusing, so I just don't. Alternatively, I'm very happy to listen to other people's experiences, which I have no connection to. I just don't have the confidence to explain my own. The next time I struggled in a conversation was not too far off from what I mentioned in the first video, in that I was still spending time with my partner's family, so I was talking to a lot more people and more often than I normally do, and obviously people I'm less comfortable with and don't really know as well. And I found myself stunted from engaging in a conversation because I don't just find it really hard to explain things about myself, but that I fear I won't be believed on an objective thing. So if we're not on common ground on a topic, I'm much more likely to slink away from the conversation than provide what I know. Essentially, whereas last time I didn't want to be misunderstood on a personal level, this time I didn't want to come off as a know-it-all because of our different understandings on a topic. Whether I was right or not, it was much too scary for me to be perceived poorly for making a correction to someone than to just let it go. The topic was severe thunderstorms. Someone said that the weather people should separate what they call storms, that some should be a thunderstorm and some should be a lightning storm. Another nearby conversationalist agreed with them, and I realized I was then two people's lack of understanding deep or away from being able to contribute anything myself. This was in no way an argument or something that I needed to interject on. I just found it interesting that the mere mention that all thunderstorms are lightning storms because thunder doesn't exist without lightning was too much for me to undertake. Generally, I don't want to be perceived as a smartass or like I'm really full of myself, but I also think maybe I might have been able to carry on and explore whether they knew that or if they meant it in a severity classification system, regardless, if it wasn't with people generations older than me. I typically haven't had the best of luck engaging with topics that introduce new information to my parents or older generations. Like how I've been unsuccessful in convincing my seniors that being bi doesn't become a phase just because they settle down in a different sex relationship, you know? Even when it comes to proven science, the vast unknown of how someone will react to new information has deterred me from sharing it before, and that makes conversations hard to carry out if you plan on talking about anything outside of the weather. Well, even if you're talking about the weather too, I suppose. Anyway, let me know in the comments what's the oddest time that you've stopped short and let a conversation die because it wasn't worth establishing a baseline of understanding with someone. I've had this happen so many countless times in my life over the dumbest things too. And once the initial moment passes, I have such a hard time recovering. Like, oh, you want to talk about the price of bananas? I'm stuck cycling through the process of the hydrologic system. You'll have to give me a minute while I confirm I'm not the one getting that wrong, too. I'm sure for most people, it's the topic itself that's the issue. Like, nobody wants to accidentally get into a political debate with someone they already know they won't find common ground with. Most people wouldn't hesitate to just ask someone whether they knew thunder is a byproduct of lightning. It is, in itself, a normal question meant to helpfully elevate understanding. For me, it's just not knowing the other person well enough to know how they'll respond that's so imposing. Will they think I'm being pretentious? Will they even believe me? Will they debate it? I could assume the person in question simply wasn't given that base of understanding in their education, which is fine and totally not a criticism of them. But there's also the possibility and people out there that will kick up a fuss about anything. With flat earthers' existence, conceptually, I mean, like such stubborn people, I wouldn't know what I can say to a stranger that's safe. So, as you can assume, I don't usually say much of anything at all.